is recorded. I need to know where you're posting that. Just so I can share it. All right, good morning. So my name is Tania Browning, and I'm super excited to be back in your presence. I was gone for a little bit, and I'm sure you all missed me, absolutely. Just as much as I missed you. Okay, and who missed the grounding meditative breathing? All right, let's do it. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll take a minute, and we're just going to close our eyes or whatever, and we're going to take 3 deep breaths to center ourselves. Doesn't that feel great? All right, so we've got dancing and we've got breathing. Pretty soon we'll be taking off our shoes and grounding. It will be so awesome. I know, I'm not trying to get fired from this position, but I just keep ratcheting it up, right? Like, what won't they let me do here? Okay, so we have scanned the QR code. We have centered ourselves to receive awesome information from entrepreneurs from our community. And who are we? We're 1 Million Cups. So we are a community really designed to be a safe space of creative development for entrepreneurs and really that support within the community that it really is that connector. So today we have 2 different presenters. Oh, Kim, you said you had an announcement you wanted to make. So then does that mean I'm not announcing the people? Okay, so I get to come back. Okay, I'll be back.
Announce a couple things. One, I wanted to share some information. My good friend Juan Barraza and Wendy are here visiting from Portland. Latino founders. Juan and I go back to Portland State University and Event Oregon days, and I was very honored to work with Juan and move our entrepreneurs forward and move them forward to Event Oregon. So super special to have you here. We will be hosting the first ever Pitch Latino in Southern Oregon in Medford, and I have more information on June 12th. We had 11 applications, which is glorious for our first time, and we have 7 companies pitching. So if you would like, we will share information. I'll make sure Juan shares that. If you'd like to get tickets and attend, we would love to have you there, but we're really honored and thrilled to offer that. We have a pitch competition in Cave Junction tomorrow night, the first one ever, and so I'm very excited about that. It's at Wild River Brewing at 6 p.m. They're very excited to have us in their community, so that's going to be great. And then I wanted to share something that's just kind of random. I won't get too far ahead on events because we have some things coming up, but I was contacted from 1MC in Kansas City. The Kauffman Foundation reached out. And they are so impressed with our 1MC and our Grants Pass community because we are one of the tiniest communities with a 1MC. They reached out, and I've been invited to go to Kansas City, Missouri in July and represent Grants Pass. So, thank you. Yes, so we're on the map. So they want to hear more about our community and what we're doing. And so again, kudos to all of you for being here and supporting us. That's what we do. All right. You get to go.
And checking in, because we're getting credit. Remember, it's all about getting credit. So we're checking in. And Kim's so sophisticated, she writes on a Post-it. I just wrote on my hand. I'm not above that. So, and before I introduce our 2 presenters, one at a time, I did just want to share one thing, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I do remember before a speaking gig a couple bazillion years ago, someone reminded me that don't worry, really nobody's listening. They're just feeling what they're feeling, right? And so you don't remember the things people say, but you remember how they made you feel. And I think that that's super important. Like when we're all presenting up here, right, I get all worried about, oh my God, what am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to mispronounce their name? Am I going to remember the QR code? Do I remember what 1MC is? Probably not exactly as it is because I don't have enough room on my hand to write it all down. But the key thing is how we feel. And so I just am super excited for our next 2 presenters and knowing that we're in this friendly space. So Tracy is going to be first, with Kanyini. And so she's going to come on up. Come on, Tracy. Woo!
All right. Woo. Oh, there it is. Okay, so 3 quick questions before we begin. Thank you. First of all, do you agree that creating partnerships is vital to the success of a business? Okay. And do you agree that we could call money the blood that keeps business and community alive? Okay. And last but not least, do you agree that banks aren't known for being the quickest or easiest way to getting money when you need it? Okay, then you will be interested in my presentation. Hello, I am Tracy Noriega from Kanyini Capital, and my presentation is about going beyond traditional lending by partnering with local businesses and connecting capital with community. This is going to be blank for a little bit because just who I am. I am a lifelong, till now, employee. So this is totally new for me, being an entrepreneur and business owner, something I ventured into. However, I'm very adamant and very passionate about local business. My first job was at the local deli because I wanted to work there and eat those calzones. And then I went on to working for lots of different cafes and bistros and such, always choosing to work for mom and pop businesses, and then surfs and skate shops, and went on then to do teaching when I was in college. And that lasted just for a couple years, seeing of the institutions and stuff, but I would do it abroad. And then I did a little stint in Wall Street, working at a brokerage firm, got to see what that was all about, at Oppenheimer Cooperated. And then, lots of those little jobs in Y2K. I was at a .com as well in San Francisco. Did lots of different administrative and customer service, etc. Then went on when 9/11 happened, reskilled, became an X-ray tech, went into interventional radiology, and then that saw its end with COVID. And since that, I let those certificates burn, and that boat has gone. I have been figuring out what I'm going to do now that I'm all grown up. So I did a lot of traveling, doing lots of work exchange, property caretaking, traveling in different parts of the United States as well as in Central America. So again, always working for mom and pop places and doing things like that to figure out what I'm going to do. So without getting it, because I only have 6 minutes, all of a sudden, here we are. I am Kanyini Capital, and why did I find this? My mission is to support the growth of local businesses in the Rogue Valley by providing accessible working capital, building strategic community-focused partnerships, and educating the business community about alternative finance options. And that vision is to promote and support economic development in Southern Oregon, empowering local businesses, entrepreneurs, and strengthening the community through responsible and impactful financing. All right. One thing I found out in all my years of working for all these different companies and mom and pops is having values, so that you have a compass of where you're going and what you're about, and a litmus test, if anything. So first value is about community. I'm all about community and connection, and I put that unity on there because it is about that we are all one. Okay, we all can be very individual, but it's about us bringing together, and when all of us are focused on that, it residuates and it benefits everybody. Partnership is definitely, as you've already agreed, is very vital. And so the way I envision partnership for this is to collaborate between not only businesses, but also the investors, the lenders, looking at the local government organizations, industry-specific organizations, and getting involved everybody to bring them all on board to make win-wins, because we're all in this together. Growth is another value of mine, because if you're not growing, you're dying. And so providing businesses with the resources and the support so they can thrive. And then when the local businesses succeed, we know it goes right back into the local economy, and it builds everybody up. So everybody gets to grow. And last but not least, money is a very sensitive subject, and trust is involved. There's, lots of things that come with that, thinking somebody's a loan shark and such. So really getting out the education piece of it, and collaborating again with all those partners so that everybody's on the same page and we're all working for the same thing. All right, the objectives of Kanyini Capital is first to make working capital accessible, okay? And what does that mean? It is, looking for those alternative finance options that many people don't know exist, so that a business can invest in their inventory and their equipment, expansion, hire more people, okay? That also includes, when I say making it accessible, it's making it timely, making it personalized, looking at the business itself specifically and doing for it what it needs and qualifying it on its basis, not on just one blanket, okay? Community-focused partnerships, again, going back to those partnerships, it takes a village, right? And we all need to work together, and that includes all these different organizations that have this in mind to help build up community and local businesses to actually really get them to be cohesive with each other on this so that we're moving forward. And then last but not least, it involves awareness and education and guidance. If you're not aware of something, you have no idea. You don't know what you don't know. So education pieces, there are lots of organizations like So Ready and the SBDC that exist, and it's like wanting to create partnerships with them as well as with the industry-specific organizations and going in there and giving some financial literacy, giving some outlook of how these things look and how it works so that you business owners can make a better decision and know, oh, this is possible, just because your bank said no doesn't mean. And just to sum up, we all do know that when you shop local, when you support local, it stays in here. I mean, there's endless amounts of studies that show that. And so, you're keeping existing local businesses in business, right? And that you're maintaining all your retail spaces so that you're not having blight. That's, again, revenue that goes back into the community, that goes back into local government. You're providing more services and products, and this area is very much about travel, and people come here for a destination, right? So again, bringing that and just more employment opportunities, and all of that brings up the whole community. And so that is where my come from and my why is. So thank you for listening. I hope I didn't rattle too quickly, but but yes, thank you.
I will ask, if you have a question, please use a mic so that the recording captures it. So.
Hi, Juan Barraza here from Latino Founders. Congrats. I think the understanding of the capital stack and financing option for businesses is very needed. Could you expand a little bit on how you do that? Because it's a lot, right? It's like a microloans, banking, state funding grants, federal grants. What is the sweet spot that you're planning to work with entrepreneurs or local businesses to guide them through the right bucket of money?
Yeah, great question, because there's so many things out there, so it's like, where am I going to focus on? So my elevator pitch is providing local businesses and real estate investors with timely access to working capital through my network of vetted lenders. And so I do have some products for real estate people who are doing fix and flips, or they are looking for commercial loans. So that's a piece, and I have 3 lenders that I work with that do that. And then I have lenders that work with the small businesses to do more like term loans, lines of capital, equipment financing, accounts receivable factoring, these other things that can help with just getting from point A to point B, whether you need to hire more people because you're at that point of growth. Like, I just was meeting with somebody who she has a salon, and she's like, I cannot be my own scheduler anymore. Like, I need somebody to do that because but I don't have the money to do that. or a gentleman I helped with an appliance business he's a mobile appliance business. He got a great contract to fix 20 refrigerators and compressors. However, he needed the money to buy all the parts for it, and that was going to put him out a bit. So it's like, where can I get that? So those kind of loans, one of the main lenders I work with is Rock Financial, and they have 75 lenders under them. So they really, I hand them off to them, it's one application and 6 months of bank statements, and by that they go ahead and look, and it's more based on your cash flow. They're going to look at your cash flow, what's coming in, how is that looking, because they're doing unsecured loans. Okay, and sometimes people don't get approved for what they would like. However, what is nice about these lenders and the ones I choose to work with is that they want about retention, and they're all about what they call relational equity, that they don't want to just do a one-off and you go away. They want to work with you, and they'll actually look at stuff and say, hey, this is how you get better in the eyes of the lender. This is what you need to do. And what we can do is approve you for this much, and you show you're making payments, you show your growth over the next month, we can reevaluate, roll that over into another one, and maybe even move to a different lender to get better rates. So, again, it's very customized to look at where that business is and where they are now and where they want to go. You're welcome. Yes, thank you.
You kind of answered my question. I think one of the biggest barriers of entry as far as small entrepreneurs go are everybody wants to lend to somebody who's already successful. You have 6 months bank statements of money coming in and a large amount of money, or you have great credit and you're backing it yourself. Where are the people getting money that aren't already successful, but to become successful, to be with, do you work with anybody that would take that chance on these not already home run?
Yes. In fact, that's what Rock Financial does, and right now I'm looking at another one called David Allen Capital that does the same thing, because they're looking at, they understand not everybody's going to have the great credit score. The business I'm dealing with right now, who's, she will get approved for something, but she went ahead and said, hey, we did a bankruptcy, 6 years ago, and I've only been in business for 2 years, and it's been inconsistent because I've been the only one working it. So we're still getting her something. I was just talking to them on the way here. It's not going to be the full amount she wanted. However, again, they'll work with her to, hey, let's get you up to that. What are your goals, and what is it that you're wanting to accomplish? Well, then let's find, these are the products that would help you. This is what would actually be beneficial to you. Because I don't pretend to know whether a line of credit would be better than a term loan versus a working capital loan. That's where I like the people I'm working with, because they actually take you under their wing, and they assign you what they call it's a financial advisor, but it's to keep you there and to help you build your credit and do whatever is necessary. Yeah.
Hi there.
Hi.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I have allergies. I did not party too hard last night, I promise. So my question is, what is the loan range that you are targeting at this phase of your company? Are you a micro lender to mid-size lender? Are we talking $500 to $10 million? Just what is your immediate focus right now?
So the lenders I work with when it comes to businesses, because that's what most of you are, is some of them will go as low as 5,000. Okay, they usually like to keep it 10,000, and then they'll go up to millions. And sometimes, for example, a gentleman I had with equipment financing, and I'm learning all these things as I go along too. If you do equipment financing under a certain amount, then it's a lot less paperwork and a lot less that they ask for. When you go over an amount, then it becomes a nightmare. And so this gentleman wanted to buy different trucks. And what that was going to do was going to be that, where it was going to be the nightmarish. Now it's going to be a long, doing all the tax returns. So what they did was they divided it up. He wanted 5 trucks. Okay, let's do 1 truck with this lender, 1 truck with that under lender, and we'll do the 2 trucks there, and divide it up so that it'll be advantageous to the business as well. So these are other strategies that we may not know, and lender has its own criteria as well. So that's the other reason of working with big ones who have all of them under there to look for what will meet that business's needs.
Hi.
Hi.
Can I ask you to put your business name back up there so we can see that? Thanks. I think you're fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And I love your whole story. And we need like story time with you because there's so many different careers and inspiration that took place there. I want to know, of all the people out there that do something around loans and of the partners that you work with and all those things, why should I come to you?
Great question. Well, what I'd like to think is when we go back to the values, and trust is one of them. I don't. My why is because I do have great admiration for those who have businesses. I really do. I mean, it's big. And that's why if I look back at all of my experience working for small businesses, it kind of got into my mind, oh, I never want to do that. That's way too much responsibility. And it's just, to see business owners stressing over making payroll about their lease, is up and now they may have to move and just all these things. So it's really, I guess I would say first, because I have it in mind about doing right by you, okay? And I actually, to kind of just illustrate that, had a local lender here in the area that I learned about, and I was really excited to partner with a local lender, and they gave me their platform and ability to go to Greeters, Medford, and all this stuff. And then as we continued our relationship, I saw that we were not in alignment with values and such. And it became like, well, why didn't you give me that loan? Well, it actually was better for them to take it with the other lender, and it was better terms and better this and that, and it became this whole thing, well, what do they pay you for a commission? And I said, well, you actually pay more, then why didn't you do it? Because it's not in their best interest. And I want to build those relations. When I say about connection and community and partnerships, it really is about that. I want you to know that I did right by you, that you would feel that confident to say to somebody else who's in a position, well, you know what, I don't know what she can do, however, speak to her, and by me going out in community, I'm meeting all the other people for that question, there's so many microloans, this and that and the other. That's one of my other missions, is with the partnerships, to meet the So Readies and the other ones and know what they have available to say, okay, you need to go there, and at Greeters, like I met a woman who works for finance company that does more personal stuff, because sometimes I'll get that question. And it's like, I don't do the personal loans, however, she does. And so let me give you Mary's card and etc. I don't do HELOC, but I know somebody who does. And so that's where I want to be known as, and why I would say to come to me is because I've only lived here a year and a half. I really have fallen in love with this area and community, and I'm like, okay, I cannot be really an employee going out there looking for a $15, $18 hour job. I'm never going to get ahead. I have to make something myself. And so when I look at who I want to help, and it's always been to go work for them to help them, I'm like, you know what? Let me go work for them to get them the money that they need. And I feel it's about reciprocity. I know money gets a bad name a lot of times, called a necessary evil. However, if we really do look at it as an energy, and it is an energy, it's a currency. They call it currency. And so currency has to move. It has to move in order for it to work. And there are people out there who want to give money to the businesses because they're business owners themselves and understand what it takes to continue a business running. And if we can do that, then we can make infinite loops of, reciprocity there and have it flowing, and it'll go over into everyone. There is enough for everyone. That's my thought. So thank you.
Tracy.
Yeah.
One last question. How can this community help you?
Yeah, so with what I've said and presented is to know, one, am I even, this is just me making this shit up, okay? they say a business is about finding a problem or a pain point and, providing a solution. So this is something I've seen from my experience, but I'm on the other side. I came here to give this presentation to find out from you guys, like, am I on the right mark? Like, what other partnerships would you say? Like I want the feedback to know if I am, barking up the wrong tree, or I'm just, making, I don't want to be Delulu here, and but yeah, is to know from you guys, like, what would you say I'm on mark, I'm missing, people I should be connecting with, organizations, etc. It's to get that feedback from you.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you so much for coming up here and sharing your business, yourself with us, letting us get to know you a little bit. And yeah, I mean, it's not an easy thing to come share something, especially when it's you and it's your story and it's your thing. So well done. Did she do a great job? Yeah. Awesome. So we're going to take one quick, brief moment, fill your coffee cups, slap a high five to at least 2 people, and then we'll get started with our second presenter. It won't change right away. I have to go look at the other screen to change it.
Okay.
Is this a good height for you? That's a little bit high, so I'm going to move it down so it's not right covering your face.
Okay.
That should work just fine right there, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to actually I'll have you step off,
Okay.
and Tania's going to bring you up.
Okay. Okay.
In the beginning, well, I didn't know. As time passed on, still didn't know. But this time, gonna try it now.
All right, folks. We had a little bit longer than a couple minutes, and you all are talking so vigorously. It's absolutely fabulous. So great. So great. And now you are ready for our next presenter. And I got to say, I love it when I can have a cookie for breakfast and not feel bad. And I did that. And it was amazing. And usually, I know you would find this hard to believe, I'm a little wiry. after having, I know, hard to believe. But look at me, calm. I can't even believe how calm I am. No sugar. So amazing. So our next presenter, Anna, with Breaking Chains Bakery, is going to talk to you about her awesomeness. And so I felt I had to try it. I believe there are some more goodies back there. You all should try it because it's almost calming, I think. And everyone wants pastries that are calming. So without further ado, Miss Anna will come and talk to you about Breaking Chains Bakery. Woohoo!
Deep breath, right? Thank you. Okay, good morning. My name is Anna Tucker Ward, and I am a wife and a mom, a lover of Jesus, and founder of Breaking Chains Bakery. It was created because I felt the Lord had given me this clear wisdom that sugar was causing a lot of my overeating issues. I'd been stuck in this cycle of chronic pain to where I would be in pain, so I would eat something sweet to feel better, and then that would create more pain, and it was just this vicious cycle back and forth. I was putting weight on. I had 2 little kids to take care of. Things weren't going great. So I had told my husband that it felt like I just needed to cut the sugar out. So we did that. I ended up doing a lot of research into our food system, the American food system. I was pretty over sweets at one point where it was like, okay, I think I've binged it so hard, it's time to maybe eat something savory for once. But I've made the joke for the longest time, I am deep down a sugar addict. It's the first addiction you form as a child, right? You want something sweet. You skin your knee, your parents give you something sweet to eat. But the more that I researched, I found out that as of 2020, 74% of adults are overweight, with 42% of them being obese. 1 in 3 children are overweight or obese, and it's causing serious health issues. Some things such as heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, liver disease, and breathing problems, but it also has this huge effect on our mental health as well. Mental health and behavioral issues have also been on the rise in the United States, and I can't help but think that maybe our nutrition has something to do with that. I ended up talking to my husband and thinking maybe food was the cure all along, that maybe if we genuinely did what they said and eat in the outside aisles, we would all feel physically, mentally, emotionally better. But who doesn't like a treat once in a while, right? Like, I need those treats still. So in me changing my diet, my husband's diet, the kids being the next generation, felt like I had to do something. I couldn't raise them with my own bad habits. I ended up cutting all of our processed grains, gluten, sugar, seed oils completely out of our diets. All the dyes went to the side. We just tried to literally shop the outside aisles, but having a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old who, for all of their lives, I raised on sugar, there was a massive revolt. And so liking treats myself, having little kids that liked them, it felt like I had to come up with some alternative. And I love baking. So I just started creating and playing with recipes, and then out of selfishness went down to the Lonely Pine because I go there with friends often with our kids, and said, I want to be able to get something for me. And so would you ever consider carrying these products? And she tasted them, a couple cookie options, and our bagels, and she took a chance. And so from that, it turned into maybe we should try something here. And so we've just been creating ever since. I know sugar addiction is real. It is like so, food is the one thing you can't live without. But making that choice every day to eat better is not easy. But it's also not easy to live in chronic pain and to have mental health issues and all the lists of things that come along with that are negative. Eliminating sugar, gluten, soy, and artificial dyes. It's super daunting, but it definitely can be done. And still having treats is definitely still a possibility. It really was like life-changing for my family. It's literally rippled out into my parents now are eating this way. My grandma is eating this way. And then I still get to make all of us treats that taste like something that you shouldn't be eating but isn't going to have the negative effects. Our next step and like what we're really wanting to find is a commercial kitchen because we've made some more partnerships. And so that's our next step that we would like to find. More than that, our biggest thing is we just want to help everybody indulge a little bit without the guilt. Thank you. I'll make it there eventually. I forgot about that. You didn't need all the others.
All right. Well, first off, awesome presentation. That was amazing. Sorry, yeah, right here.
You're right there. Okay.
I have, followed this food journey, and it is a rabbit hole. Once you jump down, you realize everything has to go.
Yeah.
So I love that. I just wanted to ask, you were mentioning that you're in Lonely Pine. Do you do deliveries or anywhere else that I can find you?
Yeah, so right now we're at the Lonely Pine with our bagels. We're at House of Glory has our mini cakes there, so does Mimosas. And then we just made deals to go into Agora Artisan Eatery, Lulu's Cafe, and Rogue Roasters. So, thank you.
Hi, Annie, Jeff Smith. I love your concept. I can relate to it personally. Medical condition where my doctor says, hey man, forget about sugar. He said stevia is okay. Also said gluten-free. And I'm the guy who grew up sitting on his couch in front of his favorite show with his favorite snacks, right?
Right.
So I just love what you're doing. And anytime I go into a bakery, I always ask, do you guys have anything gluten-free and with stevia? And the answer is always no. So I think you are spot on. And truth be known, I hit a lot of bakeries. So I'm curious, like, what your bandwidth is, because I think you are just, pun intended, dialed in on a sweet spot big time here. And it's like, I could see you just taking off. And that's my question, I guess, is like, what is your bandwidth right now in terms of being able to service all of the market need that I see? I mean, if you gave me 5 cards, I'd probably hand them out within 24 hours. But the other, and just a side note, I want to say, I loved your presentation. I loved your confidence. We all have our faith. I love the way you lean in on your faith. I do the same thing. And so I encourage you to continue to that. You obviously will. But I would have loved to, maybe just a little feedback, positive feedback, is I would love to have gotten in a little more detail about what your actual business model is and what your roadmap looks like. But all that. So I guess back to my question, how do you see your bandwidth right now servicing the market need?
Right now, I told my husband I'm not going to any other restaurants or bakeries, that we're pretty tapped out, especially with customers will just place orders on Facebook. And I tell everybody it's a 3-day turnaround, that if you place an order and make your payment within 72 hours, I'll have your goods for you. That's kind of where I'm looking into maybe needing to rent out a commercial kitchen to be able to have a babysitter, watch the kids literally all day, be able to bang out a bunch of stuff.
I can follow one more
Yeah.
question or comment. And I helped a guy 15 years ago. He had his own homemade salsa business.
Mm-hmm.
And he was dealing with a lot of the same situations you're in right now. And I'm not sure we ever really figured that out. Because we did find a commercial facility that his process was really manual and he could never really scale it up. So obviously that's something obviously that's something you're going to have to address as well, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
seems to me like one step is to get that commercial facility, but then the big question, your big opportunity, it seems to me, is how do you scale that?
Yeah,
Just a call out.
Okay, so the next step after this, and what we've talked about, and what I'd really like to create is like a food trailer, not a food truck. I want to be able to haul it with our vehicle so that that's not an issue. But to be able to bake in it and sell out of to scale the business before we think the end goal is brick and mortar, to actually have our own bakery that I'm in full time, that now becomes my full-time job.
Okay, I know I'm hogging the mic. This is the last thing, I promise. I worked at a company, a large corporation, where the boss was this great guy. He was always trying to build morale, and he actually talked up to our team the best ice cream he ever tasted, and it came out of like Kansas. And so we all got to, and I'm down in Livermore, California at the time. And so he actually, went around and got our favorite flavors, and he bought this ice cream online that got overnighted from Kansas. And these people got a business. And I just think that's something possibly in your future as well. Okay, thanks you guys for indulging me.
Okay, I got the list of ingredients here in front of me.
Okay.
I don't see sugar, I don't see honey, but that was one of the sweetest things I've tasted. What is your sweet ingredient?
So we use allulose for almost everything back there. It is like as close to sugar as you can get that does not spike your blood sugar. So it has actually been shown, I've done a lot of research on this, to lower blood sugar. And I'll just say, like Saturday we did the flea market, that was our leftover stock, but sold a bunch of stuff, and one of the guys that was working there had the glucose monitor on his arm, and he came over super sus, and I said, just try, I'll give you one for free, like just try it. And so he tried one of our muffins and came back an hour later and said his glucose or his insulin levels had dropped 15 points. And he's like, okay, so now I'd like a cookie and a cake. I'm like, okay, great, thank you.
On a caloric basis.
Yeah, on a caloric basis.
How does allulose compare to sugar?
Yeah. I'm not going to say that it's a low-calorie food. I wouldn't say it's definitely not low-fat. We use butter or coconut oil if it's a dairy-free option, or unsweetened almond milk, which is high in fat. But everything that we use, we try and keep as organic as we can. If not organic, at least non-GMO, to keep everything as clean and tasty as possible. But calorie-wise, I mean, less than if you were going to like Crumble Cookie or one of the other bakeries, right? It's a lot less calorie-wise. And then carb-wise, like 1/40th of what you'd be getting. Like all of those cakes are 3.5 net carbs or less. The cookies are 3 carbs. And all of them, well, the muffins are 14 grams of protein. The cakes all have between 5 and 6 grams of protein each. So if you're going by macros, they're a better option. If you're looking for a calorie deficit option, they're better than getting your full sugared items.
Well, see, that's the comparison. Before and after, I was eating these cookies. Now I'm eating these cookies. Less carbs, less calories, better glucose
I
spike.
almost put my before and after picture in the slides, but that felt really vain, so I was not going to do that.
No, but I mean, my cookie versus the generic cookie.
Yeah.
We beat them on protein, we beat them on carbs, we beat them on spike.
Yeah.
It's something you might consider.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Can I ask you to take one deep breath? I want you to see all the faces in this room, And I want you to see every single one of them is excited for what you're saying and what you're doing and making.
Thank you.
So, when you talk about the goal is brick and mortar, and the speaker right before you specializes in small business lending,
I was listening to her hard.
and you have a room full of very excited, interested people, and you have me wondering how many days a week you're baking because I want to know if I can start giving these away to clients and, you know, having my wife stop making her cookies. No offense to my wife's cookies, they're great. But we think about all these things about food. She doesn't bake this way. And I love the fact that you say, we want you to indulge. That's something that's been stripped away from us.
Yeah.
And you get to give that back in a healthy way. It's a very special offer. So thank you.
Thank you. I like that the term food is fuel, but I also think food is connection, and it's memories and it's moments together. And so I love the aspect of indulgence, but yeah, guilt-free, right? Oh.
James Conway did me dirty with that one. Thank you so much for your presentation. For personal reasons I'll share offline, I was listening full attention. Thank you for not demonizing calories. I would love to connect you with the Food Innovation Center, which is a taxpayer-funded resource out of the Oregon State University, because as you scale up, if that's the direction, labeling might need to be more standardized for a particular market or a particular store. So I'd love to connect you with that resource. I had the privilege of going to grad school with the founders of Happy Campers Gluten-Free Bakery. They're out there, they're amazing. So I've learned from them and another bakery here in the region that the moment you start talking about gluten-free, because gluten can be airborne, there are a lot of specific requirements on your production site, whether it's a cottage kitchen bakery or an industrial commercial kitchen. Are you going to pursue that very, very harsh label of gluten-free, or are you just saying it's cooked without gluten? Because that is a huge competitive advantage in the current market.
No, it's, I tell everybody our kitchen now is like 100% gluten-free. We don't have anything in our house anymore that has gluten in it. So there's, like, even down to, I started looking at my cooking sprays, everything, and like just make sure it's as clean as possible so that there aren't those extra additives in there. So we can comfortably say we are 100% gluten-free.
Fantastic, Marta. Thank you so much. I got the loud microphone, so thank you so much for coming and standing up and sharing with us. This is really great to see you stand up and share your vision. Marta had a great idea with Oregon State University, but also SOU has a machine that can run your ingredients through and give you the breakdown of everything. So if you want that connection as well. But I also wanted to share with the room, if you haven't seen what she has on display back here for samples, great presentation. It's fantastic. And then I'm going to call it a shameless plug. Kim and I and a few other members in the community are working on food beverage to support all of our food entrepreneurs in the room and the region. And so keep an eye out for work that we're doing, because we'd love to plug in with you and help you grow this business. So I just wanted to do that shameless plug, so thank you.
Hi, my name is Nicholas. I don't really have a question. I just want to, well, I do have a question. Where were you 7 years ago when I quit drinking? So I used to be a very heavy drinker, and when I quit drinking, I replaced it with sweets for the first 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
And it controlled my life as much as the alcohol did.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you for this, because if I had something like this, I feel like that transition would have been far easier. So thank you. That's really what it was. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome, Nicholas. It was just for you. Sorry I was 7 years late.
All right, over here, Brad Converse, fantastic presentation, absolutely delicious. Want to ask a question. So you said the goal is to have a brick and mortar. is that actually your goal, or is the goal, more time with your family, more people served? Just wanted to throw back at you. You're doing a great job getting into locations that already have a customer base, that are already going there, and they're not necessarily looking for your business. They're looking for gluten-free, healthier. And if you could expand into that market where now you're serving restaurants and cafes that are in Medford and Ashland and then Roseburg and then Eugene, all of that can be done from just an industrial commercial space, not necessarily a brick and mortar. So if your dream is to have a brick and mortar that you're working every day, wearing an apron, meeting people, by all means do that. But there's other ways to achieve what you actually might want. Just think about that.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. I say the cafe aspect just because I do like the social interaction of meeting with people and hearing their story, and maybe because it boosts my own ego a little bit when they say they like my stuff. But I love being in all these other locations in town, just because I know they have customers looking for these things. And I don't have to have the overhead of the brick and mortar, which has been really nice. But in all honesty, having 2 little kids in the kitchen with me while I bake all the time is just getting a little tricky as we're scaling and I'm needing to do more. And so being able to separate home and work is kind of just where I'm at, where I need to be able to separate the two, because I need to be able to be a nice mom at home and not the frazzled, I've got all these cakes to make mom. And to be able to separate that a little bit. The original starting out, it was so nice to think this is just a side income. But my husband and I, the more things pick up, we're like, oh, maybe this could turn into something more. And so I'm a hairstylist by trade. That's kind of scaled back a little bit as this starts to grow, and I'm just trying to lean into whatever doors open is basically where I'm at. Hi.
Yeah. So thank you. And I guess it's 2 questions, kind of piggybacking on the gentleman over there about brick and mortar. I was also thinking about, I know in other places I've lived, they've had co-op industrial kitchens that you can rent out and stuff. So I don't know if that's here, or if, we put feelers out to find something like that as well, to be that in between. So that's something. And then I was just going to say with, I feel like it's very much a mission. It's more than just making sweets and stuff. There's more behind that. And one of the things that just kind of jumped into, and I'll throw it out there, is you writing a cookbook to empower others to do this for themselves and their family. And that would be another way of putting the word out, of getting this into others and making a name for yourself and your cookies. So.
Okay. That's a good idea. Thank you.
Anna, hi. So real quick, I will throw it out there to you that there are more questions in the audience for you. I know Lance and Claudia, there's some questions over in this area. So after, I would invite you to go talk to all of those people, and they have some feedback and questions for you maybe. The last question we'd like to ask though right now is, how can this community help you?
I think the biggest thing is like a connection with a kitchen to be able that has storage for our stuff. There's somebody here that maybe knows something. That was going to be my biggest request, is just a kitchen where I can cook in, potentially store stuff in until we get orders moving out throughout the week. Other than that, that was pretty much it. Okay.
Anna, thank you so much. Thank you for a lot of things, but all of those things are amazing. And just like everybody else said, I'll reflect back to you just what an opportunity it is for so many people to be able to have sweets that probably weren't in a position to be able to do that before. So thank you. Yeah. You have anything for people with egg sensitivities? It's just something to think about. Just saying. I know. Science. Awesome. Well, so another huge hand for Anna. Like, again, y'all are very scary to stand up in front of. So it's a very brave person to come stand up here. And our newest member of the Orange Mug Club. So we inducted 2 new members today. You could be next. Actually, we already know who's next, but you could be in the future. Just talk to Dr. Kim Freeze in the back, and we'll get you scheduled. So we are at time, and you are welcome to get up and walk out. I did have one question I wanted to ask, and again, I will take no offense if you leave while I ask the question. But I've been thinking a lot lately about how the fabric of society is either held together or torn apart based on the leadership within it, right? And so I'm curious, I'm not talking about leadership just as like titles or, bossing people around or being in charge. I'm talking about how someone shows up in space with other people, right? And so whether they bring calmness, chaos, whether they instill certainty or uncertainty, whether they empower people or not. So I'm curious, can we grab a couple mics? I would love to hear from you. Like, if we were to define right now in this room, what are the qualities of good leadership based on that criteria, not just titles, but how you show up in space with other people? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
I would say, first and foremost, of what I've run into as being an employee and coming to employers with ideas is the ability to listen. The ability to listen and to open your mind to other ways and not just tell me, well, this is how we do it. This is how it's been. This is our MO. And it's like, okay, well, there's another way. Could we at least speak about it and be open-minded about it and consider it?
I would say, in a similar vein, somebody that puts down judgment and leans into the acceptance of somebody else's ideas and can separate themselves, their opinion, from the greater good. I think that separation is an essential piece of a truly gifted leader.
I just want to add to that something that I feel leadership doesn't talk about is that it's a responsibility, and it's also we're in the care of others. And many times life happens, death, tragedy, accidents, and how do we manage that leadership and getting the work done, but also being empathetic and caring for those that are having challenges.
I think a big part of being a leader is creating culture, but after creating that culture, keeping it. You can't expect someone else to do those things for you. You can't expect there to be a culture keeper in your midst that will do the things you want to see done. So I think it's really important to recognize what you want the environment to be like and to keep it that way.
I say delegation, a little bit of more of what they said in sharing that responsibility, to foster what was just said there, the fact that you create all of these tasks or you have somebody that you're reporting to, because chances are you're not the top of the food chain, right? I feel like unless you are your own owner, you're not the top of the food chain and you're answering to people, and a lot of times shit rolls downhill. So when you're not meeting expectations, instead of keeping and delegating and bringing your people in to help, you feel like you have to create this, I'm the leader, it's all on me, and you're not explaining it well, but you're not sharing that load. And I think when you do that, that fosters community. I think it does, when you bring people in that way, it fosters their ability to work towards a common goal. Because most of the time as an employee, you sit back and go, I'm just being told what to do and I don't know why and it makes no sense. So sharing that and not creating the I'm the boss like mentality is huge.
I would say this is consistent with what everybody else has been saying, model those team values. Always earn trust and don't ever betray it, even when it requires courage.
I want a leader who brings up other leaders. Because as a leader helps others grow, they grow, and they give back to the community, and the community grows. So let's bring up other leaders.
Before we move on real quick, I noticed you said, I want a leader who. Are you that type of leader?
I am that type of leader.
Yeah.
I've taught for over 20 years.
Yeah.
I am that type of leader. I've taught for over 20 years. I'm retired now. And I just want to bring up other leaders because my mentor for my job now has done that for me. Her international community has raised up many, many leaders. And it's not her way. It's you're going to be a leader in your way. And it's a beautiful thing when it happens.
Thank you.
I think the job is keep the doors open and consistency, meaning regardless of the time of the year, ups and downs, that this is a safe space where everybody can walk when they're good and ready. Some people will sit in the back and we're shy to step in, but when we're ready, we know that there's gonna be a time where this space is gonna be there and the doors are gonna be always open, regardless who you are, where you're coming from.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you.
I got one short one.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, so
Brad, what's up, man?
So,
How you doing?
leadership, a lot of times it's like cool and sexy and all the fun stuff. A big part about leadership is leaders are the ones who have the difficult conversations. So there's plenty of times where, I'm CEO at the Y, there'll be a concerned member or someone really upset. My staff will walk right by them and I'll go to them. Or, conversations with staff where things need to improve, things need to get better. I'm the one to have that conversation because they need to see that, I'm not shying away from it and we're all going to get better. So that's a hard part about being a leader, but no one else is going to do it.
And part of empowering other leaders is to model good leadership, right? So, awesome. Here, yes.
I hope. Here.
Lance.
Yeah, sorry.
You've been so patient. Thank you.
It's great. It's great to have a microphone and speak or something. So I heard
patience. It's like one of your key attributes, I'm sure.
It is. There's a long story about that one. Speaking of things I've heard, just listening as a leader myself, I'm leading from this. But one thing I learned just recently was I heard the word responsibility a lot. So there's a lot of responsibility on that. But to go back to the listening part, responsibility is the ability to respond, and our ability to respond as a leader. So when I have a staff member come to me and say, this person at the club they're fit to be tied, and you're like, okay, hang on a second, what happened, what's going on, how can I do that, and how do we resolve that? Having that ability to take that deep breath while we were sitting there going, oh, I'm frazzled, but that ability to respond and take a minute to do that, I find in leadership is huge.
That's awesome. You all are so awesome. I appreciate you taking the extra time. Real quick question, just a survey. In the room, how many people consider themselves a leader? I'm just going to wait till you all raise your hands. Come on. There you go. All right. I'll ask the question one more time. I want to see a quicker response. How many people in the room actually feel like they're a leader? Yeah. Oh, Marty, you look so convinced right now. She's like, it's the morning after. Yeah, I get it. No, awesome. Thank you all so much. Thanks for staying a little longer. Yes. Oh, awesome. Oh, thank you. No, thank you. We will see you all next week. You're welcome to hang out, finish that coffee, and have great conversations.